Hey everybody, Backpack Hack here coming at you with another trail tip, and today we're going to be talking about the sheepshank knot. This is a knot that can be used for two purposes. One is if you have a section of rope or cord that's damaged but you don't want to cut it out, you can use the sheepshank to bypass and take the load off of that piece of cord or rope. The other is, obviously, it shortens the rope. So if you have a piece of rope that you want to shorten without cutting it and tying the ends together, you can use the sheepshank. So let me get the camera in overhead and I'll show you a couple ways to tie this, as well as a couple problems with this knot and why it's not a perfect knot for all situations or all ropes. Okay, so here's the piece of cord, and what I did is I put a piece of painter's tape here to simulate a fictional bad part of this cord that we want to bypass. Now when you do this, you don't have to be this fancy when you lay it out, but I'm just doing this to show it to you. The first thing you want to do is create a couple of, to zigzag it, to go back and forth just like this. And then you want to put a loop on your working ends. So basically, this is the rough layout of the knot as you get started. And again, this is going to simulate a damaged portion of the cord, and you want that right in the middle, both this way and this way. You don't want it up here or here, and you don't want it around here on the ends. It needs to be right here in the middle. Now the next step is going to be a little bit difficult. I'm going to take this end and pinch it, and that's going to be a loop that we're going to put through this loop. But it makes a difference whether you go this way or this way. And the easiest way I can describe it is, if you look at this part that's towards here, if it's above this part down here, you want to come from this side. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive that through, give it a little tug, and tighten that up a little bit. Now we're going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to show you what happens when you do it incorrectly. Again, we're going to go by this part right here. This part is above this part, so we want to dive down from up above. If this was reversed, I'm going to go ahead and reverse it. Where this part is below this part, we want to come from underneath. And we'll give that a little tug to snug that up a little bit. And again, here's our damaged portion. It's not exactly in the center, but as long as it's between these two bindings, we're good. And that gives you what a sheepshank will do and what it looks like. Because when I draw this up tight, you can see that I'm putting pressure on it, and it's binding up, and it is holding. Now, if you think, well, it's just dividing the load by thirds, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a little slack out to get this damaged portion a little extra cordage, and you can see that even though I'm pulling those tight, there is no pressure or tension on that damaged portion. Now there's a problem with this particular knot. Actually a couple of them, and we're going to cover that here. One is this is rather loose when it's not under tension. It holds very well when it's under tension, but when it's loose, it can come completely undone. So I'm going to show you how to take care of that in a different way, and a different method to tie this knot. And we'll get this laid out just the exact same way. Get our two loops in and our zigzag. And this is a little bit better way to tie this knot. Instead of, now this portion is under this portion now, so I want to go from underneath, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put another loop in this over here and basically make an overhand knot that I'm not pulling through. I'm going to move this over just a little bit because I didn't get these loops, the zigzag in there very well. I'm going to put an overhand knot in this, literally, and then take this loop and put through that overhand knot. And now I'm going to draw that tight. And don't worry, we'll cover this again. This is a much more stable knot this version of the Sheepshank is much more stable than the one I just did. Now, let go. Didn't quite get it down in there right. I had to move it over. I got it too close. There we go. That's a whole lot better. And that Sheepshank not only binds up, but doesn't come undone. And the reason you want to do that is the other problem with this isn't so much the rope itself or the cord knot itself, but it is the rope or the cord that you're actually using. I'm going to do the exact same original knot that I showed you originally. This is underneath, so I'm going to go underneath. This is on top of this, so I'm going to come from the top. I'll straighten this out. I'm going to move these in a little bit to make it a little bit easier for you to see what's going on here. I'm going to set this out and lay it out flat so you can get an idea. If you want to, you can pause the video and study this. But you can see it comes in from one working end, works its way around through a binding, comes through and makes this loop, comes through and makes this loop, and then comes back through and wraps around itself and makes another binding. And if you want to pause the video to study this, you can, but I'm going to go ahead and pull this tight and show you the other problem that you will have with this knot, and that is not so much the knot, but it's the rope. This is a very, very slick rope. It's nice and smooth and silky. The problem is it just won't bind up and it can let go. So that's where you want to use that second version of tying a Sheepshank, where you do this instead. I'm going to throw this around, and now I'm going to double around through this and go through here, give that a good cinch. And this version is going to be, get it up here where it'll bite, this version is stable. You can put just as much pressure on this as you want. Now, one other thing I want to show you, I'm not going to use this one, I'm going to use this one. I'm going to undo this knot. And I'm going to show you an alternate way to make the original knot that I made. Again, I'm not going to zigzag it like this. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make 3 loops. This is just another way to do this same knot that I originally did. And I'm going to do it with 3 loops, just like you see like Daredevil would make. Now again, we have to pay attention to which one of these goes over. And we want to come through the direction of this part over here. Since this is further away than this, we want to come further away. So I'm going to put this hand through here. Again, this one is below this one, so I'd want to put my hand through here. If this was reversed and it was like this, I want to put my hand, since this is on top, I want to come in from the top. Now, all I'm going to do is, once I get my handcuffs on, is I'm going to reach in, grab this center loop, and pull it out through those outside 2 loops, and there is my Sheepshank. So there's 2 ways to tie the Sheepshank, and 2 different versions of the Sheepshank. And there you have it, the Sheepshank. This is Backpack Hat coming at you with this trail tip. Be safe out there, and I'll see you out on the trail.